Team up with communities of faith. President Biden announcing he is relaunching the White House Office of Faith-Based and Neighborhood Partnerships. This is yesterday. It's a move that aims to coordinate federal legislative policy with religious and community-based organizations. Joining us now to discuss is Pastor Jack Hibbs, senior and founding pastor of Calvary Chapel in Chino Hills, California. Pastor, good to see you.
Thank you.
When I read this to my viewers, they may be wondering, what is this? What does this mean? I know you've been following. What exactly is Biden doing? How do you interpret it?
Yeah, Joe Biden is crafting what Donald Trump did with his faith initiative team. President Trump had gathered together a bunch of faith-based leaders. I happened to have been one of them at that time, and wanted to know what was the interest of the evangelical community. And so the success of that was overwhelming. We saw in this last election that there were more evangelicals that voted for President Trump than any other time in record numbers. That said, Joe Biden understands that this is a difference, though, here is Biden is offending the evangelical community by his policy choices. For example, he's pro-abortion. He's pro taking away the borders. He is, even for a moment, you guys reported on it, that they were entertaining the relocation back to the embassy out of Jerusalem back to Tel Aviv. These are things that are offensive to the evangelical community, but Biden is moving in that direction because he knows that there's strength in that voting bloc. If he can siphon some of those people over, it's good for him.
So they're going to have, is it like a consortium of folks in different communities that are going to bring their concerns forward? And are you going to be able to be a part of that? Do you know someone that will be a part of that?
I don't know anybody who will be part of it personally. Maybe that's yet to be told or known. But you're exactly correct. They are going to supposedly sample or bring in a voice from communities to represent their view. Listen, I hope that happens. I hope the representation is biblical. I've said many times on this program and others that America needs to get back to those great Judeo-Christian worldview values that makes this nation strong. Look, Biden talks about unity, but he cannot go down the policies that he's going down and expect, again, to be unified around the Bible-believing community. There's got to be some changes in his approach.
Pastor, I've talked to you a few times. I'm curious to know if you were a part of one of these groups, what would you bring forward? What would you want the president to know? What kind of ideas do you feel like need to be shared?
Exactly. If he's going to form a faith-based group, then he's got to be able to receive faith-based input. And number one would be, for me, because I'm a big pro-life fan, I survived an abortion. It's pro-life. I would argue with them that President Biden, you must embrace this view, which most Americans hold, and sacrificing babies in the womb, and we need to let these little lives live. Let's at least get them adopted into the system of people waiting for children. But by no means, sir, I would say to him, can we sanction any longer or federally fund or take my tax dollars and fund abortion? That's where I would start, because that's one of the greatest passions of my life.
What about opening churches? You know, there's still several different cities that are facing lockdown and such. How do you feel about that?
You know, it's awesome. It doesn't matter how I feel about it. Jesus said, behold, I've set before you an open door that no man can shut. He said that to the churches. And I don't believe that any pastor has the authority to shut the doors of their churches, because the church is a living, breathing entity that was given to us from heaven above. It is a key to love, care, ministering to the community. If anything, the churches need to come alongside local governments and help them in the time of any crisis.
Pastor, before I let you go, since I have you here, I always like to do this with you if I can. So many people are watching right now. They may be going through some tough times. Any encouraging words you can share as we kick this week off?
Thank you. Absolutely. Number one thing of all is Jesus Christ loves us. We have to remember that. Somebody might say, well, who cares? Jesus lived 2,000 years ago. No, my friend, Jesus is alive. Jesus rose from the dead. He loves you. And the Bible tells us that God has a great plan for our lives. And if we seek him, he will unveil that plan to us. So be encouraged. And we're going to make it through this time because God's on his throne. The answer is not, listen, in the State House or the White House. The answer is in God's house, where the word of God is open. We can be strong and be courageous at a time like this.
That is Pastor Jack Hibbs joining us live here on this Monday. Pastor, good to see you, and thank you for those words.
Good
sir.
to see you.
Well, the recall effort against California Governor Gavin Newsom has apparently garnered enough support to move forward with removal. But get this, now the governor's office is demanding signature verification. Isn't that some form of voter suppression? Well, author and speaker recall effort, he's going to join us next with his reaction.